The third step to financial freedom is all about the rules that you need to follow to go from where you are right now to where you want to get to. So let's jump in. Hi, my name is James Corsier and thank you for joining us today. And welcome to the Money Paradox podcast. Today, we're going to be going through those rules, those fundamental steps that you need to follow to get what it is that you want to achieve, to bridge that gap from where you are now to where you want to get to. And a fundamental part of that is really knowing what are the minimum number of steps you need to follow, the minimum number of rules that you need to follow. Now, a key part of this and why this is so important, not just obviously the mechanics of getting there, but it's when you put together a process that you believe in, that you can see it works, you know that when you get to the end of it, you will actually get there. It's possible. And that knowledge of it being possible gives you a lot of the rewards that you will get when you actually get it. Just think about winning the lottery. When you win the lottery, you feel amazing. You haven't got that money yet, but you still feel amazing. And that's because you have confidence that money that comes with the lottery will come in the future. And it is very, very similar when it comes to financial freedom and the process of getting there. So this is extremely important. You want to have a clear process that you're able to follow consistently, but also that you believe in, that you trust will work, okay? So let's jump in. Now, the formula for financial freedom, really when you reduce it down to its core concepts, is very, very simple. Not always easy to follow, but it is certainly simple. So let's jump in with that first. The first step, fundamentally, is spend less than you earn. This is how much you earn, this is how much you spend. That difference, that gap, is what you want to save. Okay, I'm going to say that again. What you are spending and what you earn, there needs to be a difference. And that spending needs to be lower than what you earn. Now, it must sound very simple and obvious to a lot of you listening, but this is key. Because if you're not saving consistently, you don't have money to build up to work with. Okay, so rule number one, if you're not doing that right now, you need to be doing that going forward. Second step is to take that money that you're saving, which is how much you're spending, taking that off from what you're earning, that difference is what you save. Take that money that you're saving and invest it. Now we'll talk about the whole concept of investing in future podcasts, but the second step is all about be invested. Invest in something, because if you're not invested, you're not making money with your money. So you may become financially secure, you may be protected for issues that happen in the future, but you're not going to be able to take advantage of making money from money, the explosion and the compounding effect that comes with it. Okay? So invest the money that you save. The third step is reinvest. Okay? Now this is also very important. So when you're investing money and you're starting to make a return from it, those returns you do not want to be spending. Okay? You want to be saving that as well and reinvesting that money. By doing that, it allows you to build up how much you're invested. So you're not just invested with the money that you're saving, but also what you've made from those savings. And that's when you start to get that beautiful compound curve, that exponential curve. Now, we'll talk about the compounding curve later on in this video, but this is so important. A lot of people have seen it, think they understand it, but I would say very few truly understand it. So we're going to go through that. Really, really key. We're going to come back to that later. But we want to be reinvesting, keeping that money in our investments. The fourth step is to compound that. Again, we'll go through that in a bit more detail, but compound it. Allow that money to build up exponentially. Now, with that money, we keep building and building and building and building until we get to what we call our financial freedom number. Now, our financial freedom number is the number that when we get to, we have enough money to be able to not work again. Now, does it mean you have to stop working? But it means you don't need to work. And what I mean by that is the money you have that you've built up, your wealth, is so big that the money you're making from it as a return is more than what you spend. So I'm going to say that again. Your money that is built up is making money more than what you spend. And at that point, the money that you own, the wealth that you have, maintains your current lifestyle. And that allows you to stop working because you don't need to make more money on top of that. Now, that is a really fundamental pivot point, because when you get to that point, whatever it is that you're doing right now to work, to make money, you don't need to do. Now, if you're one of those fortunate people that loves doing what they're doing and would still do it even if they were financially free, amazing. Pat yourself on the back, cheer, go out party tonight. You are one of very few people. And if you are, brilliant. Now, there's some really fundamental, important information later on in this video for you as well. But for everybody else that's not fortunate to be in that position, this is key, because when you get there, all of that time that you've been spending working on something you don't truly enjoy or wouldn't do if you were financially free, you can spend that time doing something that fulfills you more, brings you more passion, more enjoyment, and allows you to contribute more to the world and the rest of your family, society, and so on. Okay, so really fundamental pivot point. Now, when you get to this financial freedom number, what you can do is you're able to convert that to passive income. So what I'm talking about here is, before you're focusing purely on accumulation of wealth, building that wealth up as quickly as possible so you can get to your financial freedom number. At that point, what you do is you convert that money into such a way where it is passive. Now, in practice, nothing is passive. There's always some kind of work involved, but as passive as you can make it, so that what is required to receive that money that you're able to spend, okay, without having to work or working on something you don't enjoy, the effort around it is either zero or is on something that you actually enjoy, that you would do purely for its own enjoyment and not to necessarily make money. Make sense? So that's it. It's very simple. It's 6 steps. First step, spend less than you earn. Second step, invest that money. Invest those savings. Third step, reinvest. Keep it in there. Fourth step, allow that money to compound. Allow it to build exponentially. 5, keep building that money until you get to your financial freedom number. And we'll talk about what that financial freedom number is in a second. And then 6th, when you get to that financial freedom number, you convert that wealth, that money that you built up, to a way in which you're able to receive passive income that exceeds what it is that you spend. And by doing that, you no longer need to work doing something you wouldn't normally do if you were financially free. That's it. Now, I want to dive into a couple of areas in a bit more detail. 1, what is that financial freedom number? And then 2, what is compounding and what really are the fundamentals behind it that make it work, and why is it so powerful? So the financial freedom number. Now, I don't have time to kind of go into the specifics and all of the details behind it, but what I want to leave you here with by the end of this video is to have an indicative view of what your financial freedom number is. What number do you need to get to be able to become financially free? Well, the first step is to understand what your cost of living is. How much are you spending each month? Because that's how much you need to have coming in to cover your spending, to be able to maintain your current lifestyle. So what is that number for you? And if you don't know what it is off the top of your head, go back and check out my other videos where I go through this in a lot more detail, or just have a very quick thing. Essentially, a very quick way to work this out is how much are you earning each month, right? How much are you saving? So if you're earning, say, £3,000 a month, and you are spending £2,000, I'll start again. If you are earning £3,000 a month, you're saving £1,000 a month, well, what's left is obviously what you're spending each month, £2,000. So a very simple way to work that out in that example is your cost of living is £2,000 a month. Make sense? Okay. Second one is then, okay, so take that number and multiply it by 12. Get to your yearly number. So effectively, how much are you spending each year? So in that example, £2,000 a month multiplied by 12 gets you what? £24,000. That's how much you're effectively spending each year. Now, when you've got the yearly number, you want to multiply that number by 20. So in our example, 24,000 multiplied by 20 is what? Now, if you're not great with maths, get your calculator out, put it in Excel, whatever you want to do. But in our example, 24 times 20 is what? £480,000. Now, when you've worked out your number, what comes up for you? What feelings come up for you? Have a think about that. Now, usually for most people, two things tend to come up. First thing is, that's a big number. That's quite a lot. I don't think I've necessarily seen that much money before. But also, actually, that's quite a small number as well. It's a lot less than I thought it would be. It's also usually quite a small number, and that's because if you don't calculate it, if you don't work out what the actual number is for you to become financially free, your mind usually goes to wild figures, millions, billions of pounds, huge amounts of money that realistically you do not need. And that's because all of these very, very large numbers tend to be bandied around in the media, the news. People talk about having vast amounts of wealth. Now that might be great for you, and that might be what you want specifically. But for most people in practice, they do not need that kind of money. And if you want to pursue that kind of money, great. I absolutely support you, so long as you've got true reasons and motives behind wanting that money. But for most people, it's quite a small number. So acknowledge that. Acknowledge that the number is a lot less than what you may have thought it is. And it's certainly achievable. I can tell you now, for most people watching this, the number that you just came up with is absolutely achievable within your lifetime. It's just about having that as a clear goal for yourself and being empowered to follow those rules that you need to follow to get there. Okay? So, now that you know your financial freedom number, I want to finish on the topic of compounding. Now, compounding is so important, and it is vital as a tool for becoming financially free. Now, the compounding curve is essentially an exponential curve, okay? Just like that, right? It starts off small and it gets big. But the key point here is that it builds slowly at first, and then it starts to build quicker and quicker and quicker until it builds very quickly. And the thing with money is that is essentially what happens when you accumulate wealth, you invest it, and you build your wealth. So long as you follow the rules properly, that is what happens. Now, the trouble with this curve is at the beginning, the curve is very shallow. As time progresses, not much happens. And that is a big issue for a lot of people because they see that very slow growth, they get frustrated, they get disappointed, and they stop. But an important part of this process is being aware that that is just part of the process. And you need to get through this piece to get to the bit that's more fun, where you start to build that wealth very quickly. I've seen that. Many of the people I've worked with have seen that. And it is part of the process, okay? So knowing that can give you the confidence and fortitude to be able to move through that slow piece at the beginning. Everybody has to follow that same curve. Whether you're rich, poor, start with a lot of money, not much money, whatever your situation, you always follow that curve. Now, the numbers around that curve might be different, but it's always the same principle. Okay? Important point. Now, there are 4 factors that impact the compounding curve. So if you've got a pen, write this down. If not, make a mental note. The first one is money. You need money, okay? So if you're not spending less than you're earning, building that savings or starting with some savings, then you can't compound it, you can't build it, right? So you've got to start with something and be able to add to it as well along the process to be able to accelerate it. Second one is you need time, right? You need time to be able to build it. And for a lot of people, especially in this day and age where everything is instant, we get bored, we just look at our phone, we go check something out. We have access to so much information and knowledge at our fingertips. Now that is great, a very strong point of living in these times, but it makes a lot of people very impatient, and patience is an extremely important part of this process. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to wait decades to become financially free, but you do need to give yourself time to build that wealth. And with it, patience. So if you aren't patient right now, you need to develop that skill, okay? Now the third one is all about being invested. So you may have the money, you may have the time, you're allowing that money to build up over time. But if you're not invested, if you're not taking that money and investing it in things, then it's not going to build up. It's just going to stay the same. In fact, it's actually going to go down in value, because if it is held in cash in banks and most savings accounts at the moment where the interest rate is lower than what we call the inflation rate, what's happening is over time, your money is devaluing. It's getting less valuable, right? So you need to be invested, because when you're investing it, that gives you a return and allows it to build and go up that curve to where you want it to get to. And then the last point of the 4 is to reinvest that money. So as your investments make money, they go up in value or they pay you out dividends or whatever it is, then that money that you're making, you want to make sure it's reinvested. It's going back into your investments or staying there. And by doing that, that's how it expands quicker and quicker and quicker and gets you to that key financial freedom number as quickly as possible. So what have we covered through today? We've talked about the formula for financial freedom, those key steps, those key rules that you need to follow to become financially free. Within that, we talked about your financial freedom number, working out how you get clear on what that number is that you need to get to that allows you to become financially free. That is that pivot point from building wealth to converting it to passive income to truly becoming financially free. And then the third piece we talked about is compounding, and the 4 variables, the 4 factors that make this compounding curve so powerful and allows you to use it in your own life. So that's all from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please like, comment, share. Please give me your input. If you've got further questions that you want to put to me that I can answer in future videos, please do let me know. If you've enjoyed this, if you want to recommend it to somebody else that you think would really benefit from learning this kind of stuff, then please share it with them. And if you've enjoyed it, please let me know. If you've got some feedback, some things you want me to improve going forward to make it even more valuable for yourself, again, let me know. I am keen to making this content as valuable for you as possible. So that's it for me. Have a great rest of the day and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.